Hey guys, how you all doing? Recently I made a story on my Instagram with the tab to edit of a photo edit I done, and surprisingly I got a lot of people asking me to create a tutorial for that. Although this is not matte painting, neither manipulation, it's just very simple photo editing. So I created another story with a poll asking if people would want me to create a tutorial for that or not, and surprisingly more than 5,000 people voted yes. So this video should get at least 5,000 likes, so smash that like button and let's get started. Okay, before we jump into this tutorial, I'm gonna link the original photo that I'm using in the description below. You can download it, follow along, do the steps exactly step by step, just to know that it's not magic or anything. If you follow the steps properly, you're gonna get amazing results. Let me first introduce you to the location I was shooting in. This is the photo we're gonna be working on. This is a place in Egypt called Mu'attam. It's a mountain in the middle of Egypt, but the great thing about it is that when you climb to the top, you can see the entire Egypt. This is like another photo of the same place, and this is like the photo we're working on. This is more like of a zoomed in photo of it, and we have these two like very white photos. Actually, if you zoom in like to the edge here, you can see the Giza pyramids, which is like so far away from that location. Now the important thing when shooting images is that you shoot in raw mode, so that when you darken the image and you look at the bright areas, you still have detail in the highlights and in the clouds, and when you brighten the image, you still have detail in the shadows. Nothing is like totally burned out. Okay, so let's get started with our editing. The first thing I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna bring the highlights all the way down, so we restore some of the sky. I'm gonna open the shadows just a little bit. I believe the shadows here were too bright. Then I'm gonna decrease the blacks a little bit and push the whites just a little bit, or maybe I'll also darken the whites. No, let's leave the whites now and let's darken the whole image to give it that sunset mood. And then I'm gonna decide now based on the blacks. This is too dark, so let's open the shadows even more and let's pull the blacks even brighter. And now the whites, I'm gonna pull them even to make it overall brighter. Then now I'm gonna add some clarity to the photo just to make things more punchy, just a little bit. And regarding color, I'm gonna make it more towards the blue, but just a little bit, and more towards the magenta again, just a little bit. Now I'm gonna take like the straighten tool. I'm gonna make sure my horizon is perfectly straight so that I don't have any tilts or anything. Then I'm gonna go to the tonal curve. Now I'm gonna do like my famous S curve, where you pull like the shadows down, take the darkest point, pull it up so you don't have anything fall into black, and then do the S curve to bring back some contrast. I guess now let's press P for before and after. So already like huge dramatic difference we were able to achieve. And then I'm gonna go to the split toning. I'm gonna add some orange in the highlights and some like blue magenta somewhere in between in the shadows, just to get that sunset purple beautiful look. Then in the profile, I'll just do like the enable profile corrections. This will automatically like adjust it for my camera, but I love when I don't like actually removing the vignette. I love the vignette in the images, and the distortion I would try both. I actually love the wider look, so I'm gonna go with something like that. And now let's go to the vignette. I'm gonna add something like just -4. And finally in the color calibration, I don't think I'm gonna do anything. So this is like the basic adjustments. You can just like see the numbers and do exactly as they are. Now I wanna target specific parts in the image. So I'm gonna take the radial filter. I'm gonna dehaze everything. I'm gonna open the blacks just a little bit, and then I'm gonna just draw around the sun, something like that, just to bring some sort of a glow around the sun. Also I'm gonna add some yellow and some magenta to it, just to give it some sort of a color. Now I'm gonna do the same but on the opposite side of the clouds. I'm gonna make it more blue, and I'm gonna add some dehaze just to make it like some sort of like stronger, something like that. Okay, let's rotate it just a little bit, and let me fade it out just a little bit. I guess if we would use like the radial filter, it could have been easier, but now I'm gonna use like the adjustment brush. I'm gonna do the same with like the dehaze and everything, and I'm just gonna do on that area of the rock, because this area of the rock is not facing the sun, so I want it to be just a little bit darker so it doesn't like take the eyes from the image. Okay, now let's bring attention to the main subject. So I'm gonna add some clarity, some dehaze, some sharpness, some shadows, open them up, some contrast, some brightness. So I'm actually doing everything that makes things pop out more, and I'm gonna just apply them on top of me, so I'm popping out a bit more in the image. Now let's take a look. I guess everything is good. I guess we need a little bit more contrast. Now I'm gonna do again with the same brush. I'm gonna just darken the exposure just a little bit, add some yellow because I believe this is too blue. Yellow is opposite of blue, and I'm just gonna color like the left portion of the image so that like it's not, but it's too strong. I'm just gonna bring it back just a little bit and reduce the highlights, reduce the whites, because I want to have like some sort of contrast in the image. The part where the sun is, it's too bright, and the other part is dark and moody. Then I'm gonna do the same again in the sun. I want to brighten the whole sun area, so I'm gonna do like the dehaze, the whites, and a little bit of exposure, and I'm gonna reduce the texture to make it more soft, like the clouds and everything, reduce the clarity, and then I'm just gonna draw a big white circle around the sun so that it feels like it's emitting or glowing the whole area. And let's add some yellow, and I guess we're done with like the camera raw part. Now it's time to open the image in Photoshop and do my Photoshop adjustment. Now once we are in Photoshop, the first thing I want to do is I want to make the sun look more interesting, so I'm gonna add this sort of like a light flare texture. I'm gonna put it in screen mode. I'm gonna press image adjustments curves and take the black point and darken it just a little bit so that I get rid. You see when like I darken the black point or brighten it, I just get rid of, like, I fade the edge. And now let me put it on top of the sun. Let me adjust its size. Something like that is gonna be good. But then let's try different. Like, I like the color dodge and I like the screen. So whenever I'm like confused between two modes, I'm gonna do the both, but both in 50% opacity, so that I get rid of the confusion. Then I'm gonna group them, Ctrl G, create a layer mask, take a normal soft brush and just get rid of these lines here and there at the edges. So this is like what we did. Now the next step is creating some sort of depth in the photo or separation. As you can see, when you look at like how our eyes work, the more you go far away in the background, the more depth, the more fog, the more haze you have between your eyes and whatever is further away because of our atmosphere. So I'm gonna make that even stronger to create more depth in the image. How I'm gonna do that is using like a layer, and I'm gonna just sample any color of the fog, something like that. And I'm gonna use any fog brush. And as you can see here, I'm creating fog, but this is like, of course, too strong. So I'm gonna make sure I'm only at something like 10% opacity. And now I'm just gonna create some sort of fog at the far away areas, just to push them even further away. Then I'm gonna create again fog in the bit close areas, just to push them even away. This is like the before and the after. We created some sort of separation. We can group everything we did, call it fog, and I'm gonna lower the opacity just a little bit so it's not that strong of an effect. Then the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new layer. Make sure I'm on 100% opacity, 3% flow. It's really important that it's flow, not opacity. And I'm gonna put this layer in overlay, and I'm gonna take a soft brush. Then I'm gonna highlight the whole image by using a bright color. How to choose the color? Choose like the color you want of the sunset, and go to the middle, then go to the middle, and this is the color you should choose for the highlight. So it's in the middle X, middle Y. Then I'm gonna zoom in strongly, and I'm gonna start painting some highlights here and there at the edges of everything that are facing the sun. Now as I'm done with the highlights, can you see like the before and the after? We added some sort of a glow and like 3D to the whole image. Now I'm gonna do exactly the same, but in darkening. I'm gonna put it into multiply mode. I'm gonna take a dark blue color, and with again 300 flow, I'm gonna do the opposite of what I did. So I brighten the parts the sun is hitting with orange. I'm gonna darken the parts the sun is not hitting with blue. Then I'm gonna do some additional like shadowing. I believe the area down on the right here is too strong. I wanna just like get rid of it just slightly. And I want to have like some sort of like a more blue tint into it. Now I guess I'm gonna do some global adjustments. I'm gonna do a curved adjustment layer. I'm gonna pull the darkest point up just strongly to fade everything. Then I'm gonna compensate by pulling this in the middle down, and let's brighten the whole thing, or maybe let's try pulling it down. Yeah, I'll pull it actually down just a little bit, the highlights. So now everything is more blended together. Can you see? Now it's time to put our color grading. I'm gonna go to gradient map. Then I'm gonna use this gradient map I have. I'm gonna choose like the first color. It's like something like 50% blue, something like that. This is what I'm gonna use. This is the code. You can copy it if you wanna do it exactly. And then I'm gonna pull like the middle point towards that one. Then here I'm gonna add a color. This is gonna be like some sort of like a brighter orange, something like that. And finally, add the highlights. I'm gonna use like a very bright orange. And this is the gradient map. I like to do it on 3 layers. Like the first one is gonna be 6% opacity and normal. Then I'm gonna Control J to duplicate it. Then I'm gonna put the next one to color. Then Control J to duplicate it. And the last one I'll try like overlay and soft light, both in 50% opacity, and see which one works better. In this case, I guess I love the overlay. I love the orange color the overlay is giving me. So this is like the coloring we created. This is the before and this is the after. It's too strong. I'm gonna just lower the opacity a little bit. The last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna merge everything. Then I'm gonna go to filter, camera, raw, filter, and I'm gonna do my final touches again. Then I'm gonna darken the whole image from the left. Let's lower the exposure. Let's lower like the highlights, the whites, and just like let's darken everything from the left, and let's add some blue. Actually, let's do the opposite from the right side. Add some yellow and brighten the whole thing from the right side. And I guess the last thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna brighten the middle part a little bit. So I'm gonna add some exposure, some shadows, some whites, some clarity, some dehaze, and I'm just gonna draw like a big circle in the middle just to make it more bright. Let's brighten it up just a little bit more. And I guess let's press OK and see what we have. And that's it. for today's tutorial. Make sure you follow me on Instagram so you can tell me what tutorials you want so I can create for you whatever you want to learn. And until next time.